Today, we're unpacking the story of one of the most polarizing, yet undeniably successful figures in the history of sports, Cristiano Ronaldo. But, we're not just here to look at another highlight reel. What we're really exploring is this fascinating, almost relentless habit he's developed over his entire career. Basically, it's his ability to take intense criticism and doubt and somehow forge that into his absolute most dangerous weapon on the pitch.
Finished. Think about how heavy that word is. And it's a word that hasn't just been tossed around once or twice. Literally throughout his whole career, there has been this constant, lingering chorus of doubt following him around. People have called him arrogant. They've constantly claimed his best days were behind him. They'd question his ability, his mentality, and wonder if he could actually still perform at the elite level. And honestly, most people would absolutely crumble under that kind of immense, suffocating expectation.
But there was one massive problem for anyone doubting Ronaldo. He remembered everything. Seriously, instead of just trying to ignore the noise or block it out like sports psychologists usually tell you to do, he mentally logged every single headline, every failure, every bit of criticism. Every time a pundit said he was finished, he just cataloged it to use as pure, unadulterated motivational fuel. He'd just walk out onto the pitch and answer them without saying a single word. Before the endless Champions League titles and all those shattered records, we really have to rewind back to his arrival at Manchester United in 2003. Picture it. He's just this skinny teenager. Critics are everywhere, questioning his flashy style, wondering if all those stepovers could actually work in a bruising physical league. Then, fast forward to the 2006 World Cup, and suddenly he's the massive target of national backlash, getting heavily blamed by fans for a very high-profile red card. The pressure was enormous. But instead of going into hiding, he completely transformed himself. He became faster, stronger, and just intensely disciplined. By 2007, he's a Premier League champion. By 2008, he reaches the absolute summit, winning his first Ballon d'Or.
42. Just let that number sink in for a second. During the 2007-2008 season, Ronaldo scored a staggering 42 goals across all competitions for Manchester United. This was the definitive, undeniable answer that completely silenced all those early critics. The flashy tricks had officially evolved into clinical, ruthless goal scoring. That raw boy people saw in 2003 was now an undisputed global superstar.
But of course, the pressure was really only just getting started. Let's move on to Section 2, Peak Pressures, focusing on the Real Madrid era.
Okay, so it's 2009. Ronaldo makes his move to Real Madrid for what was, at the time, a massive world record transfer fee. And with that staggering price tag came astronomical expectations, which were immediately compounded by this intense, history-making rivalry with Lionel Messi. So critics everywhere were essentially asking the exact same question. Can he justify the money? Could he actually perform in Spain? Could he truly go toe-to-toe with Messi and become the undisputed face of a club like Real Madrid? Every single goal was scrutinized. Every bad game invited just a tidal wave of criticism. The stakes were absolutely off the charts.
Which really brings us to the pivotal question of this era. Could he produce magic on the biggest nights? To figure that out, we have to look at April 2016. It's the Champions League quarterfinal against Wolfsburg. The first leg had gone disastrously wrong for Madrid. They lost 2-0. Real Madrid was in serious trouble, and the media went into overdrive, heavily criticizing Ronaldo and questioning his ability to step up when his team needed him the absolute most.
Goal, hat trick! In the second leg at the Santiago Bernabeu, he didn't just play a good game. He quite literally took the entire tie into his own hands. He scores 2 quick goals, and then, with the whole stadium shaking, he steps up and buries a free kick to complete his hat trick. Just like that, he instantly erased the deficit, securing a 3-2 aggregate victory entirely on his own. From 0-2 down to moving on, he single-handedly flipped the script.
So, a couple of years later, right after producing one of the most spectacular bicycle kicks we've ever seen against Juventus, he actually leaves Madrid and moves to that very club. It's a completely new league, a new team, a brand new challenge, and, you guessed it, fresh doubts. Suddenly, critics start wondering out loud if his historic success was merely a product of the Real Madrid system. By March 2019, the media had basically made their verdict clear. They're out. A massive Champions League clash against Atletico Madrid was underway, and Juventus had just lost the first leg 2-0 to one of the most elite, notoriously stubborn defenses in all of Europe. Juventus didn't just need to play well. They needed an absolute miracle.
So the critics are waiting, watching. Could he actually do it again? Could he possibly orchestrate yet another impossible Champions League comeback, this time in Turin against a defense that is literally renowned for never giving up a lead? You can just imagine the palpable tension as Ronaldo walked out onto the pitch for that second leg. Well, the answer was 3. He scores once to make it 1-0, then again to make it 2-0 and level the aggregate, and finally, under just immense, crushing pressure, he delivers a towering header into the box to make it 3-0, a decisive hat-trick that won the tie. And the way he celebrated made it completely, undeniably clear this comeback belonged entirely to him. He proved once and for all that his success wasn't dependent on any one club or any specific system. See, eventually, even his harshest critics had to stop talking about his talent. So what did they do? They started talking about his age. The game of football was getting faster. Younger, highly athletic players were bursting onto the scene, and the media became obsessed with one single question: how long can he continue? But Ronaldo, as always, forced a completely different reality onto the pitch. Don't count me out yet. This dynamic was literally never more visible than during his highly anticipated return to Manchester United in 2021. The expectations were colossal, and a lot of people genuinely believed the old elite Ronaldo was gone for good. But of course, he didn't fade away. Instead, he scored on his spectacular return against Newcastle, making Old Trafford absolutely erupt. Later that same season, he drops a phenomenal hat-trick against Tottenham for a 3-2 win. Just a classic match-winning performance. And he's doing all of this while competing well past the normal retirement age for elite footballers. He proved that even as the physical demands of the game evolve, age absolutely hadn't erased his ability to produce massive moments under immense pressure. So, what is the secret behind all these comebacks? Welcome to our final section, the comeback mentality. You see, his unprecedented longevity isn't simply about physical talent or skill on the ball. It is deeply anchored in a highly unique psychological framework. When critics tell him, "You're not good enough," or "You're finished," he doesn't absorb that as a negative attack. His brain instantly translates it into a directive: prove them wrong. Think about that for a second. How do you handle criticism in your own life? Do you let it sink you, or do you somehow translate it into competitive fuel like this? If you look across all 7 of his major career comebacks, you can clearly see this exact 4-step formula at play every single time. 1. The criticism arrives. 2. The doubt sets in from the public and the media. 3. The pressure mounts to seemingly impossible levels. And 4. His response. Because to Ronaldo, a bad season, a painful defeat, or a new generation of younger players is never his final page. It's simply another challenge to overcome. And I want you to really notice how that response is delivered. It's perfectly summed up in just 2 words: watch me. His final answer is never delivered through angry interviews. It's never through petty arguments on social media. His response is strictly delivered through football, through goals, through performances, and through trophies. He takes the words, "you can't," and decides, "watch me." It is an absolute masterclass in letting your actions speak louder than your detractors. Which really brings us to a pretty fascinating question to end on. Has his greatest comeback even happened yet? For a player whose absolute strongest motivation has always been doubt, well, as long as there is doubt, there is fuel. So next time you face impossible odds, ask yourself, what will your response be? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.